Hello, Ghost Cat. Welcome. Join the stream to listen to some music, guys. Oh no, it's not loading.
Chilling, listening to some tunes, huh?
What's your favorite one here, Dom?
My favorite one? Oh gosh.
I have my favorite one.
I think it's The Last Stand, actually. Can you play that one? Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. Oh, no, maybe it's not this one. Can you
I
play
don't
the
think
next one?
there's even music here.
Play
The
the
one
next
with
one.
Sueco is my favorite one. This one.
This one's pretty good, though.
Yeah, guys,
There's
come
a
to
lot of
the
strong opinions on
come
that
to
one.
the
There's a
stream,
lot of
guys, to listen to some music.
there were so many strong opinions. We had this for the trailer for R2. And some people were like, I love this song. Where's the link? And other people were like, this is the worst
Yeah.
song choice of all time.
I love it, honestly. We're starting after this song, guys. Giving some time for people to join.
Atlas, every time one of us meet. In the universe.
It's a great song.
You gotta remember, Santi. This is a polarizing song. Some people just lost some major respect for you, but other people just gained some major
I
respect.
want to see in the chat what everyone thinks about it, honestly.
The Sueco song?
Yeah. What do our people think about? What does the brew people think about of that song?
I give it a 6.4. 6.4 out of 10.
What?
6.4, that's good.
Nah.
That's good.
Nah,
That ain't
nah.
bad. That's above average.
That's not approved in the Argentinian system, bro.
Oh my god. Okay, well here, here it is approved.
Okay, okay. Well, let's get started. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Nice to see everyone in the chat. I see Winston, Argobane, Falcor, Kaio, Shadex, Ghost Cat. Oh my god, all the legends. All the legends are here. Um, but yeah, today we have the economics brew. Um, so we have Eric and Steven as guests. We will dive deep into the paper. We have a few questions prepare for them. But first, I think we should get started with some noteworthy news. But before, Dominic Bain, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing fantastic today. We have some really good guests. I love the econ boys. They're really fun and they're really smart. Really excited to talk to them today.
Yeah. And Jose, how are you, Jose?
How you doing, brother? I'm really happy that we have people that actually know about economics join us today. we have we have we have our awesome data bro, the legend,
The
Steven,
data, bro. Yes.
and our amazing director, the man who doesn't need an introduction, Eric the Red Vermilion. It's a pleasure to have you guys here today, guys.
Awesome. And Eric and Steven, I gave you mod, so if you don't want to use push to talk, I think you just have to drop off the chat and join again. Um, so you can, yeah, they just dropped out the chat. So,
And I'm back.
Steven, okay, we hear you. We hear Eric. Just checking that we also can hear Steven. Huh, we don't hear Steven. But yeah, we'll see. We'll get that fixed. Steven, if you end up being able to hear us, just let us know. We can get that sorted on DMs, DM in the group that we have. But let's get started with some noteworthy news. So there's always some stuff going on in Star Atlas and the community. One of the biggest news for the Solana community as a whole is that the next breakpoint is going to be happening in Amsterdam. So
Oh
that's
my! This is such a big deal. This is such a big deal because if anyone remembers the town hall that we did at the start of the year, we said that we're aiming for breakpoint for R3. So just keep that in mind. And then we're also, we've talked a lot about uh, having a community meetup as well, like every year at Breakpoint. So I'm really looking forward to Breakpoint. It's going to be a really good time.
Yeah. And we are trying to go there, Dom, Jose, and myself. So that could be the first actual like complete brew in real life.
If we have you there and everything like that, are you gonna sing for us, Santi?
Yes, I
Okay,
commit.
finally.
I commit to sing. I don't know why I said yes, but
Why did you just say yes, bro?
I said it, bro, because it's Amsterdam. Like I will be in the mood for singing, bro. It's Amsterdam, you know.
Do we
That's
get to
the
pick
place.
the song though?
No, bro. I will prepare a tango.
Oh, come on, man. I would have chosen such a good song for you.
People are saying in the chat, is Ronin back? Guys, Ronin never left. He's just in the shadows, in the dungeons, working on the game.
Dude's in the dungeon, man.
Bro.
In the dungeon, apparently. Damn. Imagine that, in the dungeon.
Just in the dungeon, man.
Yeah, literally.
We'll work in the dungeons. Isn't that the
Hey,
standard for our
Can you guys
company?
hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now,
Yeah,
Steven.
we hear you. Perfect.
All right, nice.
Perfect.
I
Man.
do.
Perfect.
I do want to know what Ronan's working on because last time I saw, I thought it was pretty darn cool what he was working on. So if there's any alpha there, that'd be pretty sweet.
Wow,
Oh,
Eric,
man.
wow.
I'm
not-
at no
I'm not
liability to
approval share
reveal.
alpha, guys.
I'm at
I
no
love it.
liability to reveal anything at this point in time. All I can say is that it's pretty cool. The stuff that's been coming out with UE stuff. I mean, 5.2 Unreal Engine that came out now with AI generated environments to assist with artists development. It's just growing the community further in a way that we can advance at a faster pace. So it's pretty cool, actually.
Politician
awesome.
answer.
Yeah. He has been
Listen,
trained.
Yeah, dude,
I'm
what the hell?
prepared.
Oh my gosh.
He has been trained, guys. Yeah. This is not the Ronin that will spill everything that we know.
Listen,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was the one that was hunting for the alpha, okay?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Respect.
So yeah, guys, we're going to go to Amsterdam probably for Breakpoint, so that should be fun. We also have, I know that Michelle is listening, so we'll probably plan a cool event. Michelle is our director
It's
of
gonna
events.
be oh my god, it's gonna be a great event. It's gonna be a great event.
Yeah,
There's no way it's
yeah.
not gonna be.
Yeah, it's going to be a great event. So yeah, we're going to be in Amsterdam. Then we dropped a new video on YouTube, right, Dom?
Oh, we did. Yes, we did. Absolutely. Let me drop that. So, if you haven't seen it, this is the first time we're doing it. We did something a little new where we dropped a kind of end of quarter development sneak peeks recap, but we made sure to add things that you guys haven't seen before because we know a lot of you guys in the brew crowd basically stay up to date every day. So, most of this was stuff that you've already seen, but we definitely added some new stuff. So, if you haven't seen this video, go check it out and let us know what you think.
Yeah. Let us know what you think about that one. We made sure, as Dom said, there's some really cool stuff, really new stuff in there. So make sure to get that. Make sure to take a look at it. We also wanted to highlight Atlas Grace. They did their March donation, and the charity they picked is actually Save the Children. So that's actually awesome. It's wholesome content. So don't make sure to post that in the chat.
Oh, let me find it. I'm finding it.
That's awesome. Is that a tax write-off or no?
It's
Depends on
been
which country.
it's been done completely with Atlas emissions from Score, so that's pretty cool. They're
That's amazing.
compounding all the rewards to donate, and anyone can donate. So guys, make sure to go check that out. Donate if you can. It goes a long way. And this project is run by one of the community OGs, Archetype. So yeah, it has all our full support, and it's great that there are initiatives like this one. So we wanted to highlight it.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
cool.
Then also we wanted to highlight a new community product launch, which is the Star Atlas Radio, the 4-6 Star Atlas Radio. I think I have the link for this one, so you can go check that out. It's a radio station that the guys, I think, Drum Carlos created, and it's pretty cool. Like it's ongoing, 4-6, like forever, 24/7. So you can find like cool beats. There's also interviews, hologram, podcast, content from content creators. Um, so yeah, guys, make sure to go check that out as well. Um, and there's also one last thing, which was teased a little bit by Michael, that the scavenger hunt is also coming with the social experience. And Jose, without dropping any alpha, what do you have for us, Jose? I'm putting you on the spot, bro.
I was imagining this would happen.
Of course,
Oh,
of
I'm
course.
prepared. I'm prepared. I was thinking like I will use it the last 10 minutes to come up with a strategy where I can share something and don't get fired. So yeah, we are having something that will be coming together with scavenger hunt. I dare say it's something big, something focused on our OGs and everyone that really loves the Star Atlas metaverse. And it's heavily focused on the lore and in allowing players to make choices and engage with the different products and materials that Star Atlas is currently developing. I'm sure we all gonna have lots of fun with it, and you guys will be able to see a part of Star Atlas that you didn't see before. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome. I love it. That's another politician answer. I love that.
We're well
Exactly.
trained, man.
Yeah. We're trained. We're trained. Well, yeah. Expect something that comes together with the scavenger hunt, guys, which will be cool and rewarding for the community. So I think we can actually get started. So we have two awesome main guests with us today. So we have Steven Sabo. I'm hoping I pronounce your surname well, sir.
Close enough.
How is it? Tell me, so I don't make
Sable.
Sable. Steven
Yeah.
Sable, Director of
Yep.
Economy for Star Atlas. Welcome, my man. It's a pleasure to have you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And we also have the Berm Dragon, the one and only Eric Vermillion. How are you, man?
I am wonderful. Thank you.
That's great, man. That's great. That's great. So I think it's time to dive deep. Guys, what we will be doing is, that every quarter the Star Atlas Econ team ships to the community the analysis, the paper, the economic report. So today we're going to be looking at it, reading, just asking some questions, and also, guys, feel free to ask any questions to our econ team as well. Any feedback that you guys have. But basically, we will be going through it all together to just understand like what happened in the Star Atlas economy for the past quarter. We have a few questions that we prepared, and Dom, also if you can stream the econ report so we all go through it together, that would be awesome. And we also posted the link in the chat, in the Atlas Brew chat right now, so we can all go through it together. So, Steven, my man, or Eric, anyone who wants to take this one, but just explain it to us like we're five, like what are we going to see in this report? Like what is it? Very general.
Eric, do you wanna?
Yeah, I mean, let me kind of give a little bit of background. So, just kind of for everybody's understanding. So, I'm the head of economy, but Steven is the day-to-day director, and he is into the econometrics and the details as a data bro. If you follow him on Twitter. So, at the beginning of each quarter, after we get your feedback, we go through all of the understanding and details of the last or the previous quarter. We do a breakdown of, okay, what do we want to do with this next one? In this one, we wanted this to be a foundational paper that is setting the stage for all of the papers you'll see coming after this. This one specifically, we wanted to ensure was so detailed that anybody in an economist role outside of Star Atlas or an academic role outside of Star Atlas would be able to read it and realize that the work that we're doing is not your typical game economy. It is way deeper. It is way different. And it is intended to be a demonstration of what we feel will be coming in the future. That being said, if you found this hard to read, we understand. We do not intend the future ones to be as hard to read while still delivering the detail. We won't have to explain it again, is what we're trying to say. This first one, I challenged Steven to show us how we will set this up to look at business cycles, looking at our economy going forward and saying, okay, when we get to a UE5 level of game, there's going to be so many different inputs. We need a system, a structure to fit in all of the things that are coming in the economy, to be able to judge them, to break them down data-wise, and then feed them back to the community as our analysis of how the economy is growing, how it's not growing, how it's working and not working, what the efficiencies are. And this is that attempt. So that was what I sent to Steven, and what he took and just, I thought, absolutely nailed So that is the intent. That's the setup. And then I'll let Steven kind of give his rundown of what this is.
Yeah. So really what this is, like in economics or like, there's like a literature, right? And, people read this literature and then this literature ends up shaping the ideas held by undergraduates, people in PhD programs, people in academia. And I think it's important for us to start like paving the way for other researchers to start doing work on metaverse gaming economies, right? And it's sort of like, you have to like teach a man how to fish, like, and catch the fish in order for them to like kind of get it, right? And so this is that paper. I mean, this is just one example of how you can apply like really standard, methods from economics, in this case, business cycle research, to the metaverse economies, right? Just one example. So the intended audience was like a little different. We're trying to shape the zeitgeist here. We're trying to shape the idea that metaverse economies are real economies.
Hmm. That's actually super interesting. And Steven, just for everyone to understand it, I see a question in the chat. I know this is like something that we clarified many times, but just so everyone understands while we go through it, like what is a resident and what is a citizen, like those terminologies that we use.
Great question. Great question. So, residents are people that are employed, okay, like within the ecosystem. Now, as of right now, that means they have ships staked in score. In the future, that'll change. We will expand our definition of what it means to be employed. Like, and when we're making these distinctions about like these certain categories of individuals, we're trying to model them off actual like economies, right? Like you can have like you could have like residents in countries and they have to meet like certain conditions to be residents, right? And that's one of our conditions is employment. The citizenship distinction is when we add in the ability to vote and to really participate in the political process. So in this sense, like in order to add the citizen or in order to be a citizen, you have to add on top of employment um, polis locker participation.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Thank you for the reply, sir. Dom, I know we had another question for the guys.
Yeah, my next question for you guys is what are the things you found the most interesting about this particular paper? Is there any like key highlights that you want to give the community here?
Well, Eric, as a reader of the paper, what did you find
Yeah.
most interesting about this paper?
Yeah, so the one question that I had initial was if you compare the economies outside of the metaverse and specifically the Star Atlas economy to say real world economic cycles, is there a difference in the time? The time to me is something that we have dealt with and thought about a ton in our game design, in our economic game design with Chris, who you guys all probably know as well. Our discussions will come back to okay, what is the time expectation to see how long it takes to do something. And where this came from was like an idea where I had back last year was like, okay, if you are going to buy a car and pay it off in the real world, that takes 5 years to do, right? For most average people. And so that time period is 5 years. Well, what about if you buy a ship and want to have it paid off based on your activities? Is that 5 years? Is that much shorter? Because the economic cycle, I believed, hypothesized, is much shorter just because of the activities are much shorter. And the time spans, the mental time spans of what we expect to do in games and even in this new form of games in the metaverse is, in my mind, was much faster. And then you take that kind of example and you go to the next level. And I went to Steven and said, as an econometrics angle here, can we look at what does it look like in the business cycle overall in the economy? So are the expansions and recessions faster or slower? Are they always faster, and to what degree? Can we measure that and then take that to the people? So that's what I'll have Stephen kind of address, because I thought that was the most interesting part for me.
Sure, sure. Yeah, time is an interesting element here because, like, in crypto, time is often viewed to be like compressed, right? Like, because the volatility of crypto has just been like so much greater than like that of anything else. And when that happens, that means that events will occur more frequently just because of like the nature of the data, right? So like if the how we sort of approach this was as like a benchmark. We looked at, we compared the volatility of BTC of Bitcoin to the volatility of US GDP, right? And we discovered that, okay, the volatility of US GDP, like what typically is implied for like minimum recession length, for example, is 2 quarters, right? 180 days. Well, if the volatility of BTC is, like way above that of US GDP, that means that the length of time for like for this like minimum, phase length assumption is going to be compressed, right? So we actually went when we made that comparison, we actually went from 180 days to 9 days. Um, and then that parameter in itself, like we were using in a business cycle dating algorithm to identify these turning points, and that ended up being a really like good benchmark to capture some of the major turning points that occurred throughout the year.
So
And to
sorry
add,
guys. Yeah, go
oh,
for it. Go
sorry,
for it. No, go for it.
Santi, I was just going to add, going back to our original point of foundational, what we're trying to do is foundational work for the metaverse economics as well as Star Atlas, right? And do kind of a combined. So somebody outside of Star Atlas could take this conclusion that we did and understand that it's we have, I don't want to say proven, but we've demonstrated through our work here that crypto economy, while it's similar, is not exactly the same as outside. It has a higher frequency rate based on our own internal data, looking at how our economy works, but also looking at Bitcoin and assigning those two. So it's foundational to not only Star Atlas economics, but metaverse economics, and shaping the zeitgeist, as Stephen likes to say it. We are trying to paint the borders. Here's how it operates in our analysis. Use it to your however it works for your economy, or how you anticipate your game going in the future if you want to, in the Solana world. But that's kind of the point that I liked a ton about this, is it works for both.
And actually, like what's super interesting here is that like right now, like there's sort of like this lack of like real engaging gameplay, right? And like, so it's going to be like the Starless economy is going to be heavily influenced by like what crypto time is, right? Like what this time defined by BTC volatility is. But when we add in like gameplay and like the incentive to play just because it's fun and there's like a great community around it, we're actually going to see a reduced volatility in the economy, right? So we're going to see like, we're going to see less of a pass through like from, this like these like global factors like onto our domestic economy. And also like as a result of that, we're actually going to see like the length of our business cycle like increase, right? So we're going to see like longer expansions, um like just longer expansions, shorter recessions, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the more we can get our minds into the game, I say that collectively. I say that everybody into the game atmosphere. The you're in this world. Think about games that you've mentally transformed yourself into that world, and when you're spending an Atlas, you're no longer comparing it to the US dollar. You're spending an Atlas because you know what the value of that Atlas is based on how hard it was to earn that Atlas, and you make those decisions based on it. You are now in the economy that we want you to be in. And what we're saying is, as you get more immersed into that economy, we anticipate the cycles of the things that affect us outside of the economy, meaning Bitcoin drops 20,000, Bitcoin goes up 20,000. Those effects, sold this, sold that, whatever those are, or catastrophic things in the crypto economies will have a less effect because you're already playing this game. You understand the economy. You're mentally into that game, and really all you care about is, did my ship survive? Did I win that race? Did I, whatever it is? Do I want to buy whatever that product is that helps me boost and have an advantage in the game, or whatever it is? You are into the game so much that those external effects, we think, this is probably a base level, and we think it will increase from 9 days maybe to 18 or 25 or whatever, and that will be fun for us to watch as economists.
For sure.
Let me jump in.
Yeah, just like go.
Santi, sorry, bro.
No, for sure.
Like from my perspective here, guys, what you guys did in this article, and I could be totally wrong, but you guys are actually laying the foundations for any academic in the world to see that the Star Atlas economy and metaverse has solid bases in terms of business cycle and analysis, right? And man, I can only imagine how this everything that you guys are saying, like the actual game and everything, I think this will turn around like everything that we know in terms of the state of art of metaverse economies, right? Because I feel that our game has the most advanced uh, economic design. Yeah, I don't know the others, but I mean, from those that I follow, I don't see anything like Star Atlas. How do you guys um, feel that this new phase, like an actual game, will create those cycles? As you said, you are expecting to have less volatility and closer loops. Let's say it like that. Is that the current thinking of what you envision is going to happen?
That's my thinking. Yeah, that's my thinking. Even though, like, if you look at like virtual economies in general, maybe like World of Warcraft or like, like some of the other like traditional economies, like time is still compressed, right? Like because like we people don't want to spend a year in game time, like they don't want to like have a year in game time translate to like a year in real life, right? Like they want to like accomplish stuff like at a higher, like rate, like greater progression. So like you're going to have like still like this compressed time, but yeah, as I say, like the correlations between like the broader crypto market and like what's happening in game, I expect will decrease, right? And like we have to like remind ourselves like this is like a web3 game, right? So like there is crypto, there are NFTs, and these things like are shaped by market forces. And like those things are going to have like real wealth effects on players that's going to influence their like level of participation and their decision making. But what's also this is going to be like, counteracted by the gameplay and like all the other factors involved with, um, with that.
Let me add a follow up question here. Do you guys envision yourselves interfering or using economic levers during those cycles to forward or contract the Star Atlas economy, or you guys are going to for approach more free market and let it regulate itself, or it's too early to talk about that?
Eric?
Yeah, it's not too early to talk about it because I think we had a discussion earlier today. This is an iteration in the future. So it is my preference, it is Chris's preference to be a free market as much as possible. It is not our desire to tinker too much. We will look for, and because we believe in the power of people winning and losing in an economy, and that there should be part of the gameplay is you guys figuring out where the opportunities are in the economy because something is less produced or less available and you can get a better price based on your time and your hours. We do not intend or want to be, especially long run, we do not intend or want to be the economic gods or whatever you would call it that go in there and tinker. That being said, the first 6 months is probably the 6 months to a year. We're going to be in there trying to make sure that the transition from score, which is a non-participatory, other than going in there and refilling, to the Sage and the UE5 where it's active and you are making decisions. So we're just going to try and ensure that it functions is really what we're going for. We're not going for perfect domination of how it will work, and there will be opportunities for folks, and that's okay. This is a complete exercise in your ability to play a game, but also understand the economics of the game. People will win, people will lose. There will be tough choices, and that is part of the fun. And we do not want to take away from that in any way, shape, or form. But we do have to carefully transition from score to the what we'd say, is an open economy, a free market economy, and make sure. So that's what our internal understanding of how we anticipate going over the next 6 to 12 months.
Like,
Awesome.
okay, so it's an interesting question, right? Because it's like, all right, do we shape? Because you're asking basically like, do we shape like the fiscal and like monetary policies like of the economy, right? So it's like, do we react to the economy, or do we just like let it just go wild, right? And I think there's like an interesting like longer term debate here. Like I know, like Eric said, first 6 months to a year, we're gonna be like figuring out like what parameters are best. But I think there's an opportunity here to have like to implement some sort of policy like rules or whatever that maybe are voted upon, through the DAO, that help to like stabilize the unstable economy, so to speak. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and just because it's Web3 and we have levers does not mean that it's going to be a perfect economy. In fact, we've said that from the beginning, that young economies are oftentimes, volatile, just in the real world. So think real world, right? And then increase the speed of everything, the cycles of everything. And you've got yourself some fun game. I mean, really, if you are into the economics fun game side of it, man, I can tell you, I'm anticipating it being just opportunity galore. But you've got to pay attention. You've got to be in the game. You've got to be in the understanding of the game. And yeah, to Steven's point, it is a development, but when we get to the DAO, I think some of these will be voted on as we get a little bit further down the road. But the initial thought right now is just let's make sure this transition is as solid as possible. Understanding, I think everybody should understand. There's going to be opportunities. There's going to be some people who will fail that will make the wrong decisions. That's economies. That's one of the things that attracted me to come work here was Michael saying that if it's in the real world, it's in the game. If you can lose in the real world, you can lose in this game too. If you can win in the real world, you can win in this game too. So thinking through that as opportunity, I see it as a view of a positive, fun positive, that we can all collectively figure out a way to win as much as we can together, or you can go out by yourself and do it. The options are just going to be amazing in how you can play this game as it develops. It's going to be in stages, right? We all know that's not ready tomorrow. It's going to be in stages, and there's going to be paying attention, being in brews, and things like that are very important.
Man, I'm going to save to buy some Ustur's faction bounds now and titles.
Not let me just go with not financial advice on all of this, guys.
Yeah,
Awesome
great part on
disclaimer.
that one. Awesome disclaimer. Oh man. So I wanted to ask you guys, since we were talking about like, I also I always want to approach the questions like just explain it like we're five, because not all of us like have a real deep understanding of the economics. But we touch a little bit on this. So, what is exactly like the quote unquote perfect Star Atlas business cycle? Would that be Star Atlas reaching a point where its economy is not super correlated to the crypto volatility? Like, I'm not sure if you guys want to comment on it a little bit.
That's okay. So that's like kind of like it's like a philosophical question.
Yeah, you can
So
approach it like that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, what is a perfect business cycle? Well, first of all, like, what are business cycles? Let's just like, maybe we should just like start there. Like,
Yeah, please. That's a great start.
you know, um, so business cycles like refer to the recurring patterns of expansion and contraction in economic activity, like over time, right? Like, and these things are so they're recurring, right? So like they're not like so there are things that are like longer term, right? Like you have these like longer term structural forces. Like for example, maybe like the number of players in the economy, you know, um, like these things will like trend in a certain way, like for a long time. They'll be structural. But the business cycle more refers to like, all right, what's happening like of the people currently in the economy, like what are they like how is their participation in the game like changing like at a more like rapid clip, right? So we're always going to have like these business cycles. You're always going to have like moments where the game like slows down and like picks up. Is there an ideal length to a business cycle? Yeah, I think ideally we'd like it to be longer. We would like expansions to be longer, right? We would like less like volatility, right? Because that's going to create greater stability for the players in the game, right? And that greater stability is going to like it's going to be important for like player retention and even new user growth.
Steven, I would like to draw a parallel here with real world economies. In the real world, the economic cycles are very much linked with the strength of the money, right? We start with the money with a hard standard like gold, and then we have the creation of debt and people print money and things like that. What would be the most, or I don't know if this was identified yet, but what's the driving force, or maybe the factors that you guys could perceive in moving the cycle up and down in Star Atlas?
Well, from the data and just if you just like graph the data, plot the data, look at it, or do a fancy dynamic factor analysis like we have done, it looks like wages are like a huge driver of employment rates. So like our domestic cycle, like we heavily influenced it to be like a function of employment rates, okay? Because we could have influenced it. Like honestly, it's a statistic, right? And like you can manipulate statistics in like any which way that you see fit, right? So we manipulated it to be focused on employment rates, right? To be focused on player participation. And like what we find is that player participation, like short-term variation, like week over week changes, um, have a lot to do with the wages, the take-home wages that players earn, right? And that's like Atlas to USD, right? So Atlas to USD goes up. Participation, the effort to keep ships employed, goes up. When Atlas goes down, participation, the effort to keep ships employed, goes down, right? There's like less effort that's being made. So like we're finding like a real like labor force like participation decision is being made here, one that you would find exactly in the real world, right? When wages are super low, people don't want to be in the labor force. They rather spend their time doing other stuff. And when wages go up, they re-enter the labor force. People that were discouraged now make it a point to try to find a job.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Super interesting. Eric, anything you want to add? Just passing you the mic in case you want to add anything.
Yeah, he nailed that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Another question that we have is, did you find like any surprises? Like, did anything surprise you while doing the research for the paper, Stephen?
Yeah, yeah. I think like everything about this was like it was all a theoretical construction, right? Like basically, like when I set out to do this, I was like, all right, can we do this method? And like, let's just go ahead and just try it. And what's surprising is that it works so well. It like really characterizes like the approach that we took like really does characterize the state of the Star Atlas economy, like in a really, and it was like natural, right? It was like it just things fit really naturally, right? And it's it turns out that the methods from econometrics, the methods from economics are very general, right? And they can be applied to like a range of situations, and they can be applied to virtual economies. And I think really what this says is that, I think it strengthens the case that metaverse economies are real economies. It's not like exactly proof that they are, but the fact that you can use these techniques in such a natural way, that many authors have done in the past, and you can apply them to metaverse economies. I think that strengthens the evidence towards metaverse economies as being like real viable economic options for people.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And just a follow-up to that, like, would you say that, for example, having a fun game to play, like a repeatable experience, I know you mentioned it a little bit in the beginning, um, would you say that that is one of the key things to having like a working economy, like having an actual engaging, fun game?
Yeah, I think it'll completely create. So basically, so here's how I see it. Right, I see like every blockchain like metaverse game in existence right now, without gameplay, is all their cycles are going to be like super similar. It's going to be like when it's going to be the gameplay that differentiates one project from another, right? Like it's going to be the level of engaging like gameplay and the popularity and like like the immersion that's going to differentiate like Star Atlas from other projects, and it's going to show up, in our like this domestic like not just this domestic business cycle, but also like the correlations between like like these outside like factors and like the in-game like economic indicators.
That's going to be really interesting to watch, like with every update, how the economy changes, right? How that affects like the business cycle and everything. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And like what we hope too is that like, this is okay. So here, as I said, like you know, we taught people how to fish and then we caught the fish. Okay. And like in the future, like, we're hoping that what people do is they sort of like data runners in the community. We're hoping that they apply these methods themselves, right? Like, we're hoping that, they go ahead and like, garner academic interest, and they go ahead and they try to implement these methods, right? Um, so that we can continue on and like do other stuff, right? Because like we have to push forward like metaverse economics, right? Like and like what that means is like everything that we write has to be it has to build upon like the last thing that we wrote, right? It has to be like it has to represent a progressive research strategy, right? And like part of our efforts to get the community and the data runners more involved includes a tweet thread that I put out of all the R packages that were used in the report, right? So like, you can use those packages, you can apply the blockchain data that you can find on Flipside or Dune, and you can try to recreate, the stuff that we've done in this paper and in past papers. And like, what that does for us is it frees us up, to continue to sort of like break through and do more, shape the zeitgeist.
Santi, we talk about gameplay being hugely important long term, obviously. So let's just say that Santi and Dom and Lumina and I don't know, let's say from Carlo, you guys own a business, okay, outside of the metaverse, and you don't really have a good product that's foundational. Then you bring whatever that next level of product is. And a million people show up for that product from 10,000 to 20,000 before. Think about the economic impact that would have on your little small business, right? Now, take that and bring it over to the metaverse. And Automata is trying to do the same thing where, because of the product level of integration into gameplay, that you play that game because you want to come play that game, not because of the money, even because you are going to, whatever. I don't want to give away anything. You're going to race, right? We know that the ground racing. You're going to come in there and you want to beat everybody in this, and hopefully, get some reward for it. But really, the reason you're racing is because it's fun, it's challenging, it's neat, it's beautiful, it's the next level of gaming visuals. It's in a world that you've never been in. It expands your imagination and draws you in at the core level of a gamer level. And then everybody else, you tell your friends, and everybody else shows up to play that game. What does that do to the economy? The answer is that's the answer, right? We all know, we inherently understand that when people show up to play because they love to play it, that is the exponential growth all of you are hoping happens, and we hope happens as well. We intend to happen as well. And so as you see these visuals, you have to put yourself into the mindset of looking at them like we do as economists and go, boy, that's going to attract a lot of new users. That's going to really create demand for you guys name the demand, right? What's going to happen? Think it through. So that's where we sit today. Is we look forward to this rest of this year and go, as economists, we're ready for it, right? We're prepared for it. We're excited for it, just like you guys are.
That's great, man. Thank you as always for the all the details. I know that was a hard question and a reply. I know you're working around a bunch of things that you can't mention yet, so believe me, we really appreciate it, man.
Politician answer a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah. So guys, we have like 10 minutes, so maybe I'm not sure, guys, you down to take some questions from the community? Of course, Eric, Steven, if you can't answer a question, just feel free to say, like, guys, we can't get into this yet. So you down to answer some questions?
Yeah, go for it.
Carl Rose, I know that you had some cool questions. Maybe if you unmute, if you can speak, that would be a lot better. If not, like, I can read them for you.
Was that for me?
No, Kyle Rose. I know he was posting some questions on the chat, but I'm not sure if he can speak. Trying to find the questions again.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so a while ago, Atlas started a referral program. Any updates on that? I mean, like it wasn't perfect. Anything has been done on that side, or anything to update?
What I would tell you is that there is another. It's in the marketing department. They're working on some ideas there, and I don't have an up to date of exactly where they're at on that. But I do know that there is work being done.
Yeah, I know that it's not like a question directly related to econ. It's more like a marketing question. But I know that the guys are the team that worked on StarPath is working on like updating it and some cool new features. Yeah, there will be an update for it, but we don't have a date on that one yet. So I will read the question from Carl Rose in the chat. Guys, Steven, Eric, of course, just answer what you can, and if you can't comment on it, just feel free to say that you can't. So the question from Carl Rose is, when we talk about having a real life job in Star Atlas, do you guys think that's actually doable? Like, for example, if someone played the game 8 hours a day, is there a possibility to earn a living? And if you also have considered like the impact that this could have on third world countries like actually in the Philippines?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it does. It depends exactly, right? Like, it depends on where you live. Like, I think that like if you're in it depends on where you live. It also depends on like the token environment. Okay, so it depends on how like Atlas to USD is doing. That's gonna like, if it's pumping, it's gonna increase like the number of countries, like people from the number of countries that really are gonna be able to make an actual living. Um, and then it's also, yeah, it's like right now, if you look at like the income earned by the average player over the past, over 2022, like we're basically in line. GDP per capita is basically in line with like Gambia, okay, which is like an African country. So it's like, it's not like incredibly like high up there in rank GDP. It's not incredibly high up there in rank, but like technically, like you could have earned like an actual decent living if you're like in Africa. Like, and now I imagine like this will definitely change, right? It has a lot to do with like our token environment, and it's got a lot to do with like how jobs change in the future, right? Like people are, there's going to be like a lot of in-game, you know, in-game economic opportunity, but there's also going to be a lot of like external, like outside the game economic opportunity. Through the creation of like data services, the creation of products, board games, whatever. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for entrepreneurs to come in and really benefit from this ecosystem.
It goes back to, Stephen, I think, how good are you at understanding how to position yourself skill-wise, development-wise, understanding of the econ, whether it's the tokenomics or to the decision. What if you pick the one thing that is the least, in need? And that's what you get good at. Well, you may make some good progress financially, but you would have done better if you would have been ABC, right? Whatever that other thing is. So that's where it kind of gets back to it's your choose your own adventure. It's and you can always change. There's nothing that says you can't change tactics to try different things to get ahead. The answer, I think the question was, do we think about it? Heck yeah, we think about it. We think that this is going to provide opportunity worldwide. Yes, we do. We think that this is going to be complicated enough that you will have so many options eventually in the development of this game, and things that you and I cannot think of today will be available in the future. We do believe that. So we're trying to think. We are human, right? We are trying to think in the future. We are trying to all collaborate with smart people like yourselves to just figure out, okay, how do we position ourselves like game wise? How do we make this a fun game that's attractive, that brings more people? But yeah, we anticipate this, to reference Michael again, he said this is not just a game. This is a whole universe that we are creating. And in those universes, there will be people who don't quote unquote play the game, but come to the environment to interact, to go to parties, to concerts, to just trade as a trader, as a merchant. There will be people who play this game differently than the way that we quote unquote intend it to be played, and it's got to be fungible so that all can come and figure out what they want to do in there. So this is the fun. It's also why it's taking time to develop all these ideas.
Awesome replay, guys. Thank you so much. We still have 5 minutes. Any other questions for Steven and Eric, guys?
Yeah, I'd like to see.
Oh, I'll let
Yeah,
community add.
Siggy, go for it.
Go,
I think it
Siggy.
was Siggy, right?
Yeah, hey guys, you hear me?
Yep.
All right, so yeah, just a question on the token or vesting unlocks and just how the economists view this for the Atlas economy, and then if they can or cannot speak on that currently, but how they view once the vesting unlocks end in September and how that may affect the economy. Is it similar to money printing and then a lack thereof? Just their thoughts.
Like you're talking about not just the Polis locker, but like employment, like employee.
The private token
Early
un
investors, right?
just in how that will like
Uh,
affect supply.
well, it'll just increase it, um, because it's just gonna like people, you know, they're gonna take their unlocked tokens, and obviously, like some of those individuals will want to sell them into the market. Now, I don't necessarily view it as like, so yeah, it'll be like expansionary, like in the private like token supply of Polis, like that's for sure. But at the same time, like there's sort of some benefits to having more Polis like in the actual market rather than just being locked up. And these benefits are mostly like in terms of like liquidity, um, and like like making it easier to trade, and for it to have like better price discovery, things like that.
Yeah, let me add number one, Siggy, a big fan of all that you've done for Star Atlas. I love seeing your posts, so keep that up, man. Um, the the when it gets to tokenomics, we get very careful, guys, on just because we don't want to predict, we don't want to, but we don't want to interfere. What I can say is size of economy matters, right? So think about when I said, you know, success of the game, more people showing up. That's going to put demand on all products, is what I will say. If people show up because the game develops into things that you hope it develops into, right? So I think that's probably as close as we should get to answering anything that has to do with tokenomics and details of where price might go, or we'll just keep it on supply and demand and feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, I mean, like also like if you look at it now, like the majority of Pulse is like it's like locked up right now in the locker. So I think it would be it's almost like it would almost be like a good thing to have some be like released into the market.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I don't think it's as a bad thing. I don't view it that way at all. You know, it almost becomes more decentralized in a way, right? So if it comes back onto the
Exactly.
market, so it's yeah, definitely. Yeah, and thanks for the kind words, and yeah, love your guys' report. So keep it up.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Siki, for the question. I think it's a good moment to start closing here. We are close to the hour. So like any closing thoughts from you, Steven, like on the report or any conclusions that you have and want to share?
Well, yeah, sure. My conclusion is that, like, hey, I know this paper was difficult to read for like a lot of people, but I think like, what the community like needs to understand is that like we're trying to reach like a broader audience, and we're trying to gain like broader influence like through this report, right? And like I, I I I think that's really important to understand, and because it's a powerful thing. Like we're trying to actually like influence like how people view the metaverse, right? Like right as of today, like there isn't much academic literature that exists out there that can compare virtual economies to like real economies, right? There are a few influential papers, but not that many. Now, like we need like the broader world to start viewing the metaverse as like as a real economy, right? Because we need like that sort of we need that platform, we need the user growth, we need the political influence, we need all that stuff. um Also, I would say what's like really interesting about this report, um is like is the fact that like since we apply this like one method of economics to it, that's going to attract a certain type of researcher, right? The business cycle analyst. But we can also apply other fields of economics to the metaverse to try to attract other, types of economists, and to increase our global reach, our global influence, right? So we can apply behavioral economics, international economics, and even like political economy, right? And like a whole bunch of other stuff. Um, yeah. So that's my conclusion for the community.
Great, man. Great. I think it gives a lot of context, and also the committee understands a little bit more what we're trying to achieve with this. So awesome. Thank you for the context, man. Eric?
Just wanted to convey my thanks to Stephen as the primary author of this. I think that it does demonstrate a lot of the deep thinking that we are doing about the universe that is being created. Hopefully that gives you, as a player or participant, a good foundation of understanding, even if you don't really care for the economic details. The fact that we are thinking on that is our hope that you will understand that we are taking this as seriously as it possibly could be, and we are developing and iterating stuff that we think this paper could be, dozens or hundreds of years from now, look back on as who were the first people who were out there talking about the metaverse as real economies and doing evaluations and being cited as sources for, maybe we went down the wrong path, maybe labor's not the right part of an economy, but we find that out, and we demonstrate that. So studyable in your college classes. We have had contact with some college folks who did want to do some studying of our economy. We do know there are folks who have started to study and work it into higher level education. We want to accelerate that. We really do. And so this is part of that that work. That being said, we will use this work as foundational going forward. The next ones will not be, in my opinion, will be easier to comprehend on just a reader level. But we were okay with it kind of going to the deeper levels on this one to demonstrate where we're at and that it's foundational. So I'm excited for the rest of the year, just like you guys, in seeing how everything develops economically. It's going to be a fast and furious year of excitement. And I'm not going to steal any of Michael Wagner's thunder for when he comes on here and tells you all about it. So I'll probably stop there, Santi, so I don't leak anything, man.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thank you so much, Steven and Eric, for coming here, just spending an hour here with the community, trying to help us better understand everything that you guys have been working on, and also educate us a little bit as well on how this whole metaverse economy looks like and is going to look like. So I think I speak in the name of the whole community, saying thank you guys for coming here, just for taking community questions and for helping us better understand everything. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
our
for having
pleasure.
us. And so what I expect, I think, going forward is like that these calls are like like the first brew after the next quarterly, we'll be focused on, reporting on the quarterly. Just to set the expectation for the community members so that it's, we have this like press like release. And yeah, thanks guys.
yeah, we love to have you here. So looking forward already to the to the next report, man. It's going to be really interesting, especially with the things that we have planned. But yeah, Jose, any closing thoughts before we go?
Man, I just want to thank Eric and Steven and everyone here. It was a very entertaining brew. I learned a lot, so it was awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, awesome. So, guys, this was Atlas Brew number 57. I promise we'll get the Econ team again on a few other brews. I know everyone loves having them here. So, again, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Steven. Thank you, everyone who joined. Awesome conversation. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks,
See you next Wednesday, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dun, dun, dun. This brew has been sponsored by StarAtlasRadio.com.
This is incredible. This is new level of
Pirates.
awesome, guys. See ya. Bye bye.